All right, welcome back. So today we're going to do a vanilla chocolate swirl cheesecake. And to do that, we're going to use a spring foam pan. You also can use just a cake pan that's like 4 to 6 inches deep. But make sure that when those come out and it's cool, you're going to want to freeze them. I'll freeze this one as well. So after they cool at room temperature, I'm going to freeze them. Easier to release from this pan, but they're easy to release from those pans too, as long as you know what you're doing. So we have our graham cracker crust here. So we have graham cracker, a little bit of cinnamon, and some sugar. And all I'm going to do is go ahead and melt. I already melted my butter. So I'm going to add melted butter to get a wet consistency. And there's a recipe for this directly, but sometimes you might need to add more butter. So you'll see the recipe below. So just nice, easy. I want to be able to take it between my hand and clump it and it stay kind of like, you know, a wetter dirt or sand, right? We don't want it to come apart on us. And we're gonna press this into the bottom of our pan, and then we're gonna go ahead and step over to the KitchenAid mixer behind me, and we're going to make our batter, and then we will get it in the oven to bake off. So you can see the consistency here. So if I were to take it in my hand, it stays together. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this in the bottom of my pan, and I'm going to press it down. Sometimes people ask me, well, what if I like a thicker graham cracker crust in the bottom of my cheesecake, like a different type of ratio? And that is fine. Most ratios are like a fourth crust, maybe even like smaller than that. And then you have your batter coming up the side of the pan. So I'm just pressing it down in here. So now you have your crust. So we'll go ahead and make our batter. We'll add that on top, and then we're gonna put that in our oven and bake it up. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and make our batter. So I have my KitchenAid mixer here, my mixing bowl, and my paddle attachment. And then I have my cream cheese, sugar, heavy cream, sour cream, eggs. And then I have chocolate, because we're going to basically make one batter. We'll take some batter out, which will be our vanilla batter, and then we're gonna add chocolate to the remaining batter to get the chocolate swirl. So in here I have cream cheese. This is 2 pounds. You need to soften it before you use it. And you're gonna go ahead and place this in your mixer. There's 2 ways to soften it. One, leave it at room temp, or you can slightly soften it in the microwave. You can also use the friction of the mixer and whip it up, and it will start to soften. So we're gonna do both. So I did soften it slightly. I left it at room temperature. We're gonna go ahead and whip this on high now because it's just the cream cheese. So you really want a fluffy, kind of smooth cream cheese, very easy spreadable before we start adding our sugar. All it takes is a couple minutes. We're going to scrape down in between. So we'll go ahead, we'll lower our bowl. We're going to scrape this down, wipe it off on the paddle, making sure we're getting all of it and it's the right consistency that we're looking for, or you'll end up with clumps and not a smooth cream cheese batter to pour into your crust. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add the sugar now. This is sugar and salt. 8 ounces of sugar and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. If I was just making vanilla, I would go ahead and add my lemon zest at this point. But I'm gonna hold off on that until the end, until I remove my lemon or my vanilla batter. So once again, you're looking, now you're creaming. Now we're doing a creaming method with the cheesecake. So we're looking for that fat, which is our cream cheese, and our sugar to really get really fluffy and combine really well, nice and light. Really looks like a good consistency here. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop that. Now you're gonna go ahead and add your half a cup of sour cream. And this is a good time again to lower your bowl and scrape down. Most people don't have a problem with baking or making cheesecake batter and the crust. That's the easy part. The complicated part is the baking process. A lot of people overdo their cheesecakes or underdo them. So you have to just practice with that. You're gonna get to know it. You're gonna wanna put your cheesecakes in a water bath so that they don't burn on the inside before the middle is done. So we'll talk about that as well. So I add my sour cream there. Go ahead and mix that up. And I'm gonna zoom it in for a minute so you can really see the consistency we have going on here. It's really nice. You can see how smooth and shiny it looks. Now the eggs. The eggs you're gonna wanna add in stages. So once again, we will drop our bowl, scrape down. And then we are going to turn on our mixer and we're gonna add our eggs in stages. So like 2 eggs at a time. This is a 1 cup and a 1/3 cup plus 1 egg. Really interesting recipe there with that measurement. So as I start to combine, we'll go ahead and add more. I'm gonna lower it and I'm gonna scrape it down again. My batter is going to look a little darker than yours probably. I have chickens, so I am using my chicken eggs, which the yolks are richer than the eggs that you buy at the store. They're darker, so they change the color of my baking products a little bit. So my like white cakes end up being a little bit yellow tint. And you can see how dark the yolk is compared to your store-bought yolk. So go ahead and combine that. Then I have my vanilla and my heavy cream. Starting to look really good, smooth. There's no clumps in it. That's the key. At the beginning is to really get that cream cheese to the consistency it needs to be before you start anything, before you add the sugar. So softening it, whipping it up, and then adding your next step. All right, so I'm gonna have the mixer on low. And I'm gonna go ahead and start pouring in. This is vanilla and heavy cream. You can alternate too. You can do the eggs and the heavy cream in alternates. Scraping down again, getting underneath. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove half of this batter. So I'm gonna take my paddle attachment out for a minute. Put it in my bowl I have over here so it's off the countertop. I have another bowl here. Take my bowl up and I'm gonna remove half the batter. This is gonna be my vanilla batter. And then I'm going to make this my chocolate. Now, some recipes will have you make 2 completely different batters. As far as totally different measurements, the chocolate might have different things because you're adding liquid chocolate to it. Just gonna rinse off my hands. And that's okay too. So I wanna talk to you about lemon zest really quickly. So this recipe calls for lemon zest. So I have a microplane here that I like to use. But a lot of people, sometimes when they zest the lemon, they go too far. So this is gonna call for 1/3 of a lemon zest. So you only want the yellow. If you get to a white portion of the lemon, it can be very bitter, and we don't want that in our cheesecake. So don't go too far. We only want the yellow portion of the skin to provide our lemon zest. So the yellow portion only. We're gonna add this in. And then I'm also gonna cut this lemon in half. And I am going to use the juice. If you're just using lemon zest from the lemon and you don't need the inside of the lemon, hold on to it. Just because you took the outside off to zest it, it doesn't mean that it's bad. So hold on to it. With squeezing lemon juice in, this calls for 1/3 of a lemon. Squeezing lemon juice in, if I did not remove the seeds, which I did, and you're concerned about that, you can go ahead and use cheesecloth. Wrap the cheesecloth around your lemon and then squeeze it, and none of the seeds and actually any of the pulp will go in there. So this is our vanilla batter. So now we're gonna go back to the bowl and we're gonna add some chocolate. So I'm gonna put this over here for later. And we're gonna add some chocolate to this so that we can get it going. So I have a dark chocolate. It is semi-sweet. I'm gonna start my mixer on low and I'm just going to dump this right in. It's gonna combine. You can also add cocoa if you'd like. Scrape down in here, and then I'm going to get my cocoa, add my little bit of cocoa, and then there you have your chocolate filling. Okay, so we have our graham cracker crust in the bottom of our springform pan. We have our water bath, which is hot water in our full hotel pan, and we have our 2 batters. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to put in the vanilla batter, about half of it in. I like to do 2 stages of swirling. Some people will swirl right away. And then I have my chocolate. So I'm just gonna ring around the outside. I am just going to use, you can use any straight edge that you prefer. And I'm just gonna swirl this in there with that. So you can see I'm starting to swirl, and I'm going to add more. You could do the whole thing and then add the chocolate and swirl all at once. It's whatever your preference is. Sometimes when I do that though, I only get swirl on the top and not throughout. Add my chocolate batter, and then I'm gonna go ahead and swirl this together. And I can flavor this any way I want when it comes out. I can, so you can see there, my swirled cheesecake. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put that in my my hot water bath. And I have the oven already set, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the oven. It takes about 40 to 60 minutes to bake off. You're gonna wanna check it, don't overcook it. And then when it comes out, I'll let it cool at room temperature. I'll put it in the freezer, and then I usually let it sit for a while in the freezer. So for me, I'm not eating this till tomorrow, so I'll let it sit in the freezer overnight. Tomorrow, I will come and remove it from the pan and then garnish it appropriately. I'm gonna use some whipped cream, and I'm actually gonna use strawberries because I have a ton of fresh ones. And then I will store it in the fridge until dinner time. But side note, they do store in the freezer up to a couple months if they're wrapped properly. So if you wrap them with saran all the way around, you could always bake cheesecakes ahead of time and have them ready for your family. Okay, thank you.